Hey everyone, it's Anchorpete. And before we start talking about Devolution, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Now that that's done, let's talk about the channel. Tonight, I'm going to be filming another episode of Ramblings from the Rod Pod with my friend Brian. And then on Tuesday, I'm going to be filming another episode of the Lassercast. Now, one thing I should tell you about the Lassercast is that I've actually made a whole separate channel for the Lassercast. You can find that channel by clicking the link above over here. Now, you don't just have to click on that link, it'll also be in the description below. Besides that, if you just look to the side of this page, you'll see a featured channels section. There's actually two new channels that have been added to this channel. One is the Lassercast that I was just talking about. And then there's another one called Sloopy Checks In. This is Sloopy. Hello. Sloopy's featured in videos that my daughter Pepper has made. And so she made her own channel. And once again, that channel is called Sloopy Checks In. And you can check on that channel by clicking the link right up here. So one last thing. This video that I filmed it a couple of weeks ago when I was in a Airbnb that had a really loud AC air unit. So I'm going to apologize up front. The quality of the audio for this one is not as good as my normal videos. You will hear the sound of an air conditioner over the entire thing, but I did try to reduce that sound as much as I could. So without further ado, let's take a look at what I recorded for my review of Devolution. You know, with everything in the news right now, I know what is on everyone's minds. Sasquatches. Thank God I just finished reading Max Brooks' book, Devolution, a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. I had to read it, just to make sure I said it right. So snap into your Jack Link's beef jerky and let's get started. Format for Devolution is very similar to Max Brooks' smash hit first novel, World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war. And by now, you know what I'm talking about. You've definitely either seen or heard of the movie starring Brad Pitt. That movie came out in 2013, and I actually was not a big fan of that movie. I was, however, a huge fan of the World War Z book. World War Z as an audiobook was a real treat because every chapter was a different perspective of people dealing with this giant zombie outbreak. And for the audiobook, each perspective, each new chapter had a famous person connected to it, like Alan Alda and Henry Rollins and a bunch of people that I'm wishing I could remember at this point. The same thing can be said for Devolution. Once again, this book has an all-star cast. It has Nathan Fillion, it has Kate Mulgrew. The main character on the voice cast is Judy Greer. And Judy Greer is awesome. When I say that Judy Greer is the main character, she is voicing the role of Kate Holland. And Kate Holland is the main focus of Devolution. At this point, I stopped recording, watched a movie with my friend online while having a few drinks. After that, I proceeded to watch Twin Peaks: The Return until 2:30 a.m. This is what I looked like the morning after. The majority of the book takes place in the town of Greenloop, which is an isolated community separated from the rest of American society. And it's somewhere in Washington near Mount Rainier. In the book, Mount Rainier erupts and Greenloop is completely cut off from the rest of the world. Now, Greenloop was set up to be this smart community where you could access everything in your house using an iPad. And when people received supplies, there weren't trucks coming up delivering supplies. Drones would fly in and drop off supplies for the people of Greenloop. When Mount Rainier erupts, they're cut off completely. The drones can't come through. There's no food coming. There's no help coming. There's no supplies that are needed. The people of Greenloop basically have to wait it out. One of the key themes in the book is our obsession with anthropomorphizing, hey, I said it, nature, and basically trying to bend nature to fit our needs, to fit our view. He says that we have no respect for nature and we think that we can use technology to control it. And he used a reference to Timothy Treadwell, who
if you guys have seen the documentary Grizzly Man, he is the subject of that documentary. He is the man that would sneak into a bear habitat and live among the bears at certain points during the year. And if you've seen the Grizzly Man documentary, you know that it ends with Timothy Treadwell being eaten by one of the bears. With this key theme, Max Brooks is commenting on the hubris of humanity. And so every single one of the characters, including Kate, that live in Greenloop, they all exemplify that hubris. So throughout the book, you are anticipating that they're going to have this rude awakening and that they're most likely going to have violent ends. Kate is a relatable character, and quite often she makes references to pop culture. And what I love is when characters make reference to pop culture in a mediocre movie or TV show, they make the most obvious general explanations. They usually quote Star Wars because everyone knows Star Wars. They either reference movies that everyone knows that are classics, or they reference things that are in the current, like I'd say 5 years, the zeitgeist of the past 5 years that, you know, will stand out for people. And what I liked about Kate's references is that she referenced things like Downton Abbey, which I know that everyone knows about Downton Abbey, but then she would go into detail about the specific characters. Now, I know nothing about Downton Abbey, so it just went right over my head. But I do know that my wife, who is kind of close in age to Kate, she would get all the references that Kate made. So I feel like that made her character more believable. But with Kate and all the other characters that are at Greenloop, she's just so clueless. When the characters are this clueless, when they are this arrogant about nature, it is just an anticipation game. You're just waiting for that awakening. So I would say that one factor that made me not enjoy the book as much as I would have liked to is that I didn't like any of the characters, including the narrator, Kate. It's because of the very nature of the story that all the characters are pretty unlikable. And it reduces the level of tension when they're in peril, because you're always thinking to yourself, well, you brought this upon yourself. Like, you have made a lot of stupid decisions. This is the consequence. You're not sitting there thinking, well, you know what? They made a lot of wise choices. They did make a lot of smart decisions, and now they're stuck in this. How are they going to get out? You're just sitting there saying, okay, time to pay the piper. I feel like I can give my review of this book without spoiling it. But there is one light spoiler I will give you. There is no mystery about the Sasquatches. It's not like you get to the end of the book and it's ambiguous. Oh, were there Sasquatches? What do they look like? No. The Sasquatches are right in your face. You do get descriptions of them. You get descriptions of individual Sasquatches, so you know them. Speaking of anthropomorphizing nature, Kate gives names to each of the Sasquatches. She's not sitting there like naming them to their faces, but when she's describing them in her journal, she describes, one as Alpha, and then she describes two of them as the twins. And she goes into detail about the way that they look. Now, I enjoyed that because that helps paint a vivid image in my mind of what these creatures look like, how they act, and most importantly, it makes them very, very scary. Now, I know at the time that this book went on sale to the public, Legendary Films was already talking with Max Brooks about adapting it into a movie. The way it's written, it certainly follows the arc of a horror movie, and the way the characters act, they certainly seem like they're in a horror movie from the 80s or 90s. I would enjoy a horror movie of this, and I did enjoy this book. When I compare it to World War Z, there's a gigantic gulf in terms of quality. So if you watch enough episodes of this, you're gonna kind of guess how I rate things on my Clemmy scale. If I give something a 3, that means that I did enjoy some aspects of the book, the TV show, the movie, the comic, but ultimately I didn't enjoy the overall story. I didn't enjoy consuming that media as much as I should have. So I'm gonna give Devolution 3 Clemmys. Okay, that's it for this episode of Anchor's Points. Let me know in the comments, are Sasquatches interesting to you at all? Have you ever watched any Sasquatch movies, or have you ever watched any of those reality TV shows where people are hunting Sasquatches? And on Tuesday, I plan to shoot something that I'm super excited about. So you got some great content coming this week. But as always, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you could please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Let's go, come on. And I hope that you at home are staying safe. Thanks so much.